Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shahrukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan.
Honestly,
because
like
when it
if
comes
we didn't
to the
control our
Khans in
parents, they'd all
Bollywood,
just go
Nothing
crazy.
nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
They have
how
no...
it is.
It's like a toddler, right? They have no sense of security. Like, they're just going to put their fingers in the plug and stuff like that. They're like, what?
I was just thinking this week, like my dad is like literally like a toddler. Like, why is this food touching the other food on my plate? Like, I'm just like, how did my mother like deal with this nonsense for like so long?
One of my colleagues was trying to teach her dad how to use Zoom for, I don't know, it was like church study group or something. And she called me after. She's like, I'm going to kill him. He's in Los Angeles, but I'm going to kill him. And it's like revenge for when they taught us how to drive a car,
Oh, they were terrible at teaching me. My dad, like, really, he gave up, like, he gave me one lesson, I think, and he then just gave up. He gave it, like, to my uncle. He's like, you take care of it. And my uncle had an automatic, which in Europe, we have no, like, how did he even get an automatic? I don't know. There's, like, probably, 5 automatics in the entirety of Belgium. He had one on, like, this old Toyota Corolla. So that didn't work. So I had to, like, take professional lessons. So, which also didn't work because I don't listen to anybody. So, yeah, it was,
I have a mini story about that. Like, I don't know how to drive, and my dad does not know how to drive. And
you still don't know how to drive?
No, I don't.
Wow.
So there is a reason why that happened, because my dad tried to learn very late, and he almost like. He almost ran over a cow, and he was like, I can't drive. How the hell are you going to drive? So that never happened for me.
Apparently, failure is inherited.
Yeah. This is like one of those Raj and Anupam Kher situation where you have all of the fathers' portraits. Tera baap nahi seekh paya, tu nahi seekh paya.
तेरा बाप मैट्रिक फेल ऑक्सफोर्ड में आके फेल हुआ
Good times.
And this is like one of those things where, like people are like, it's a quarantine to joy. Now is a great time to learn. But like you can't learn because you're in quarantine. It's not even going to work out that way for you.
I think even that energy is gone. Where people were at the start, they were like, oh, let's start that. How, remember like in the first few weeks, everybody was having like a sourdough starter. And suddenly this last 2 weeks, we don't hear too much about sourdough starters anymore.
Everybody's had enough.
Nobody's doing anything anymore. Like, pick up drawing, and like your drawing pencils are broken. Your books are full. The coloring books are full. Those pattern books that you get for stress coloring. Yeah. All of them are full.
It's all black.
Every pattern is black.
Red.
Yeah. Your guitar is broken on the side. I'm never going to learn this shit anyway.
I was actually doing rather well. By my standards, I was doing rather well, I think, until I think yesterday or day before or something. Like it just, because I don't know what time is anymore, so I have no idea. It was either yesterday or day before. But I literally had this moment where I was like, you know what? Like this is going to be the rest of my life. I'm going to basically die in this apartment. Like this is going to be my tomb. I can't get out. I'll never get out for the rest of my life. I'll just die here. Yeah. And I had to talk myself out of it.
It's feeling like claustrophobic, right? Like it's getting to me, like the इतना सन्नाटा क्यों है भाई? You know that? It's I don't know, but I don't, and also like I feel like I don't even want to watch anything anymore. Like last week when we were like so excited with our listener mailbag and we were like, oh, let's do Duplicate and let's do Bacha. And I was hating my enthusiasm. Like, why did I like say I want to watch Duplicate? I start...
Like, you watch 10 minutes of the movie and like pause and just question yourself, like, what's the point to all of this? What's the point?
So Beth and I kind of cheated because we did it together. So like that really helped a little bit, I think.
It's hard to do, because focus is very difficult right now, and somehow having a buddy in the system is very, very helpful. Very helpful.
Like Beth was like, do you want to watch something like, I don't know, like later in the week or something? And I was like, well, I don't know if I'll watch Duplicate. And then she was like, do you want to watch Duplicate together? And I was like, yeah, please let's just watch that together.
So how do you guys do it? Do you do like Netflix party, or do you like sync it up, or what are you guys doing? Like, because we just
sync it up and then we chat over in WhatsApp or something. We've been doing this for a decade, so that no big change there.
Nobody's ever invited me to these kind of parties because I have no.
Just FYI. Thanks for the invite.
So Joy is different. Okay, fine. But like Asim is such a liar. Like we told him like 1 million times, like we'll do Khoon Bari Maang and we'll do like all these other things, and Asim's like, yeah, we'll do it. And then it's like, where is Asim?
But you guys know like how sincerely I can like give a commitment and I have no intention of keeping it. You guys know this, right? We were having these conversations in secret.
Now it's like this. Until like 2 minutes ago, it's like, oh, poor me, I never get invited.
Yeah. Sincerity, I have stockpiled. This fake sincerity, I can just jharna whenever you want. I can be so sincere. Like, it doesn't mean anything. My words have no value.
I was looking through, Facebook was reminding me that it was a year ago that I was in London, and I was thinking it was a whole year ago that I saw Asim and Mike for Fancy Cake.
Yeah.
One afternoon.
We had really good cakes, I feel. You and me had, like, Mike had a terrible cake. His was shit. Like, yours and mine were awesome, I felt.
I just remember them being full of, lovely layers and whipped cream and nice coffees and all.
Did we take pictures? Because we should post them. I think we
must have done. Yeah, I'll have to look.
Yeah, because I think, if a man cannot choose the right cake, it says a lot about him. Mike, if you're listening, I don't know, man.
And he's grown up in a cake culture. He has no excuse. I come from more of a cookie culture. You all come from different dessert cultures. Like, he has no reason.
No, but I disagree. I have, I used to think that way about the British also. And I went to Britain and then I realized
it's the biggest scam. It is, I am so on board with Amrita. This is the whole scam. This whole British bake-off nonsense. They cannot make tea. They cannot bake a bread to save their life, and they cannot make a cake or anything. Look, their biggest thing is like crumpets. Like, what is crumpets, man? Like, it's ridiculous. It's a scam. They can't do shit, man. These people here. Yeah. And also, Amrita was nice enough to show us around, Singapore and Thailand. Like, even the French need to stop their nonsense. The Asians have way overtaken them on desserts. Like, patisserie, Asians are ruling that game too. Like, Europe, you're a dying culture. Like, just accept it.
I have to say, since I moved to Asia, my big discovery was basically Japan. And Japan, obviously not Japan, obviously everyone knows that Japan is awesome, but Japanese cakes and their pastries. And it's very rooted in French tradition and everything. They're big fans of that kind of European culture, but it's amazing. if any one of you is thinking about going to Japan, you should go there immediately.
Yeah.
I can't recommend it enough.
And like that chocolate place you went to took us to in Singapore, that I think is just called chocolate. Like there's just like, this is ours, we're taking it over. Like Isa still thinks about that chocolate cake so many times. And because I am like, I try to be a good husband, I keep reloading the website if they opened up stores in London or somewhere I can get the cake delivered, but they're not. They have no intention whatsoever. So yeah, if anybody's coming from Singapore later on, please bring me that cake. Oh yeah.
I love that you call it Singapore. Like Singapore. I love it. It's like it makes me feel very much at home.
Oh God, shall we start like veering into like things that people tune into for the podcast? Beth, what have you been watching?
Okay, so I have been watching Claudius, the 1976 British miniseries about ancient Rome, because, well, first of all, I work in a World Cultures Museum, so this is, it's professional development. But mostly I'm watching it because John Hodgman and Elliot Kalin of various, media projects in the U.S., including The Daily Show, have a podcast where they are going episode by episode through Claudius. The show is called Podius, because of course it is. And it's really, really funny. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm watch-alonging Claudius with one of my friends here she actually lives across town, but, and then we listen to the podcast and then we discuss. And it's totally making my day. It's so funny. And if you've never seen Claudius and you like, Game of Thrones and stuff like this is kind of the OG of TV, melodramatic, power-hungry, absolutely bat bleep insane families. This is the thing to watch. It's great.
So when you mentioned this, I just quickly Googled it and I saw an image and I thought it was one of those carry-on comedies. Those carry-on camping.
It looks like that. Yeah.
But it's not a comedy.
No. Well, it has some comedic elements, but no, it's mostly a drama, and it's based on novels written in the 1930s, and it's a piece of work, and I highly recommend anyone watch it. It's also, I should note, kind of upsetting at moments because they really dig into, like the depictions of Caligula and things like that. And if my friend was saying some of these actors don't age very well. And I was like, well, in ancient Rome, apparently, according to this, you don't age because you're either poisoned by your grandmother or, stabbed by your brother or like nobody makes it out of here alive. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, the cast is like very impressive though. Like,
the cast is amazing. Patrick Stewart is in it. Yeah. John Hurt is Caligula, and he is. I hope he got all the awards available at that time because he's amazing. And people can criticize the production values, although it's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be, given what I remember of 70s British TV. But it's there's some things that clearly they're not outside when they're supposed to be and stuff like that. But if you put that aside and just focus on the acting, it's really amazing. I highly recommend it.
Also, if you watch Claudius and you find out that you enjoy it, then there's really good news for you, because the entire 70s and 80s, all of Britain was making all these Roman stuff. So there's like tons of things that you can watch that are like about like Roman emperors and like Caesar and Caligula and like Augustus and like God knows who else. So there's like, I went through I was laughing while Beth was talking, not because I think her tastes are weird, but because they like mirror mine so much. And I haven't watched Claudius in a very long time, but I think like, I don't know, like in 2005 or something, I went through this entire period where in those days we used to get Netflix DVDs, and my entire like Netflix DVD order for like a whole year was just these. It was just like Roman productions made in England.
We got to stay on this call after recording and you can tell me what else to watch. And I assume they're all starring these major stage theater, just absolute masters.
there's a version of Caesar and of Antony and Cleopatra. See, I can't remember which one, but it has Timothy Dalton as Caesar, and it is one of the most amazingly over-the-top performances I've ever seen in my life, because Timothy Dalton has no idea how to calibrate for screen versus stage. So my one memory of that series is of him in a Roman bath, and he comes up under the water like a shark, and then he like breaks through the water with like water streaming off his face, and then he goes, "Victory!" like that. And it is one of my most cherished memories in like all TV and film. So
this is also great fodder for next time a British person tells you that like Bollywood or Hollywood are full of overacting. You're like, excuse me.
How are you watching it? Like, what is this? Like, is it what is it available on?
So here it's available on a channel or a streaming service called Acorn, which is primarily British things, but also sometimes Australian and Irish and I don't know, Danish or something. But I suspect there are other channels you can get it from. Wink, wink.
Also, if you're in the UK, then there must be like much easier ways to get it, like through your standard subscription.
Yeah. No, when I try to find these things on my like on my TV, like a message pops up, "Ke tu kya kar raha hai bhai? This is not for you. Why are you wasting your time?" So it's a very long message, like the TV is talking to me.
Rich, I think we should find a few clips for Asim of, Brian Blessed being Emperor Augustus and stuff. Just a few like 1-minute things on YouTube for you to enjoy.
Oh, yes. I am on board with this program.
What else have you been watching with?
And the other thing is, I have almost finished a rewatch completely of Community, which I think is probably my favorite comedy show ever. I mean, it'd be like tied with The Simpsons in terms of like forever favorite comedies. And I have done a little trick for myself because I remember the last seasons of Community when they were aired originally and how they're not as good as the previous. So I started with season 2, went through 6, and now I'm going back and watching season 1. So I'm going to end on a paintball high note, and I just don't really know how I would have gotten through the last 2 weeks without Community. I'm kind of not kidding. It's so warm and it's so funny, and these people are so flawed yet lovable and loving, and we really have so few depictions of friendship among grown-ups in popular culture, and I'm not going to count Friends because those people are horrible. This is just lovely, and if you've never seen it, it's, at least in the US, it's on Netflix now, and I highly recommend it.
It's crazy, that show, because I mean I've watched it so many times. It is my it is my favorite comedy show. It's my second favorite show of all time. And it's funny that it was on Prime. I've got like illegal copies of it from the day because that was the only way you could, keep hold of a show. And I actually started it before it even aired. So I could not even get like a UK DVD because it wasn't even airing here. And then it was on Prime. It was on Hulu, but getting on Netflix gives it such a big platform where I'm now feeling, they're talking about a movie. That discussion is kind of percolating. There's the podcast with Joel McHale and Ken Jeong is live now on YouTube or iTunes or whatever. It's not, and then, and so many memes and jokes, and people are like getting the joke when you make, like somebody says, I think they call them bagels, that kind of thing. It's like a little thing, but people finally get that joke where you've been making it.
I've forgotten about bagels, and then when you said it to me a couple weeks ago, I almost fell over. It was so funny.
It's such a small thing, right? Calling them bagels, but it's so specific, and people that have not seen that show, I mean, obviously don't get it, but it's so good, that show. I'm basically really, because I've watched it quite a few times. I want to wait until I really hit rock bottom, and then I'm going to start. It's going to be my life raft Community. That's how much I love it. But Sujay, you also love Community, right? We
Oh yeah. So I haven't gone back and rewatched it, or I haven't even watched season 6 completely. But YouTube algorithm, as it knows me more than myself, just throws me, these random best of Troy and Abed or best of Pierce, all of that. So I watch that and it makes me happy. And then I go back and watch one of the Dungeons and Dragons episode, or one of the best ones,
so good,
or the Darkest Timeline episode.
Last night I ended with the episode that ends with Troy and Abed doing "Donde está la biblioteca?"
Mi amor la araña discoteca.
Is there better or more pure friendship in the world than Troy and Abed? So much.
And we went through so much, right? Because, he left the show. I'm blanking on the name now. Donald Glover. He left the show. Then the whole Chevy Chase thing happened. Then Dan Harmon got fired. Then there was that one season where they had a new showrunner. Then they brought him back. There was so much going on in that show. And when it started, I think it was The Office was still on or something like that. There was, it wasn't it not The Office, or it was the last season of The Office? And
probably, yeah. Community started in 2009.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I had to get illegal copies because I could not get DVDs. Amrita, where are you on Community? I don't know if you watch it, you love it.
I haven't rewatched it, but I didn't watch the last season because there was just so much stuff going on around that time.
Yeah.
But I should probably go back and finish that last season. But I'm a little bit wary about the last season, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's and the very last episode is, I thought, genuinely sad because they clearly know that they're ending.
Yeah.
Unlike some shows where they don't know that they're ending, so at least it gets to wind itself down, which is a gift in its own way. But it is kind of sad. But go back and just choose something from season 2 or 3, and you'll be, I'll just be smiling for another 24 hours at least.
I even still like season 4 without Dan Harmon? I think even like that season. It's so weird and different, but it tries a few things and it doesn't always work. And it's such a tough task, right? Taking over from Dan Harmon. But I think there's a few episodes out there that I kind of liked and enjoyed. And I'm not down on it. And especially compared to everything that's out now, it's a masterpiece for me, Community.
Yeah, even the worst of Community is better than almost everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think from next episode onwards, we should start the show saying Khandaan podcast in the morning.
Please do.
Anywho, bringing it all back to Bollywood.
Yeah. Sujoy, what have you been watching? I'm trying to get Sujoy a bit first, Amrita. I hope you don't mind. I'm trying to get Sujoy a bit first because you got really hurt last time.
I love that last. It was so good.
I watched the Chris Hemsworth movie.
Oh, how was that?
Oh.
It was surprisingly good. I didn't expect. I expected it to be really half baked. The plot is still quite predictable, but the action is really, really good. I think it's one of the stunt directors of Captain America and Winter Soldier movies that directed this movie, and it's written by the Russo brothers, and they produced it as well. So the action is really, really good, and I was quite surprised to see Randeep Hooda in it, and he's actually kicking ass in it. So yeah, given the right kind of production value and push, I think Randeep Hooda can still make it big after all these years. But it's not half bad. I would. It's not a complete waste of time if that is selling it to you. I would recommend. Yeah, I really liked it. What else? I've been watching Gangs of London.
Oh, that came out already.
Yeah. It's all the episodes are on Now TV, or it's produced by Sky Atlantic and Cinemax in the US. And they've released all the episodes, and it's directed by, some episodes are directed by Gareth Evans, who made the Raid movies, and it's very, very violent. It's like a lot of action. It's really cool. I really like one episode of Gangs of London is still like way more violent, and the action is top notch compared to like the Netflix movie Extraction. Yeah.
They really need to do like a better job like promoting these shows, man. Gangs, like I had no idea that Gareth Evans was involved in it. And I mean, I don't know how much of a name that is, but for the people that do know that name, as soon as you hear it, you want to watch it. And because to me, it just seems like a run of the mill gangster, grimy London kind of drama. Like there are so many out there, like nothing popped out to me. And then I think Devendra Hardwar from Film that posted something, and I was like, what the hell, man? Nobody mentioned it. And even like Extraction, I feel like the reviews seem to be like polar opposites, and I can't like make heads or tails. And I feel I've been burnt so many times with Netflix movies where you think it's going to be cool and then it's just like a waste of time. So I'm glad you're saying that it's, although I'm still kind of like wondering if it's just the Corona quarantine effect that you're giving it more, you're being more.
I've got nothing else to do, so I may as well watch it.
Yeah. Like we were almost positive on Mela last week, right? We were almost positive on Mela last week, so that's how far we've fallen.
But again, at the same time, we will be talking about Duplicate, and that hasn't changed, right? Quarantine or not, it didn't help. So apart from that, like I'm still watching Elementary, which is always really, really fun.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun show. Amrita?
I was listening to you guys talk, and I honestly cannot remember what happened last week.
TikTok. You've been watching too much TikTok.
I don't know what I know I've been watching, like I'm sitting at my laptop the whole time, so I must be watching something, but I absolutely cannot remember anything. I think there was like, I watched, I think, a Bon Appetit video, I think.
Is creating content taking its toll on you, Amrita?
But that was only for like the past 2 days, right? Like I think like for 2 days for people who don't know, like I'm who want the book recommendations, there's now a YouTube channel as well, and I'll put up the link when it's ready to publish. But I like that was like 2 days, but like I can't remember, like the whole of last week is a total blank. I have no idea what happened.
I think, Amrita, you're speaking to a feeling that a lot of us have, honestly. I think, I totally get it. Like, I was struggling to make a list of, and I don't think even when we were debating, like, what are we going to talk about on the show, I had nothing, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, where I am at, like, so I kind of get that. And like, sometimes you just need like casual, like, you just want to keep your eyes busy, like, cause you're not going to go to sleep anyway. Because Corona, and so you need something to do. But what are you watching? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know at all, like what I watched. I know that I watched something though.
Okay, good.
Kuch to hai.
Okay, I've got a question for you guys. How are you guys sleeping? Like, what's your sleep schedule like? Because once I finish work, if I don't eat and stuff, and I'm done by 8, and I feel super tired. If I go to bed then I'm awake at like midnight, and I won't feel sleepy till like 5 o'clock, and it just messes up my day. Are you guys following some routine?
I try to go to bed by like 11:30, 12. Like this is like the earliest I've slept in years. Wow. But I'm trying to I'm like really trying. It helps that my parents are elderly, so they're in bed by like 10 o'clock. So that's fine. But my brother and I see my brother struggling because he's here as well, and he just as it is, he has insomnia and he can't get enough sleep. and then he is also hypochondriac. So, and then he's like stuck here and he can't leave. So it's a combination of all those things. So he's really finding it hard, and I realized that I need to do something. So I've been trying to sleep regularly.
Beth, how are you sleeping?
I'm okay-ish, except I have an elderly dog who wakes me up at about 6 a.m. now, which is new. And then I take him outside, and then I go back upstairs to try to go back to sleep, and I usually can't. And I have not made the correct adjustment to the bedtime to fix that, because I'm getting a little bit ragged with the, constantly getting less than 7 or 8 hours. I'm getting more like 6, and that's not enough. Building up. So I need to be like Amrita's parents and go to bed at 10 o'clock. Yeah. But see, this is the thing. For when it's time for me to go to bed, India is waking up, and my Twitter timeline all of a sudden gets very attractive. So that doesn't work for me. But I need to tell myself that Twitter will be there in the morning, because it will, and it's fine to miss out on a little bit. So.
Yeah, it was funny because we were talking about it this morning. I live like in a complex where we usually have like morning tea on the balcony, and then you can kind of see like the buildings and like our neighbors and things like that. And we were just noticing that, people kind of don't give a shit anymore about like waking up at normal hours or going to sleep. And I see people like awake at like 2-3 o'clock, watching TV, and then waking up at 11 noon, which never used to happen. Right. And, like even my daughter was like, is waking up at quite late, like 10:30, which never used to happen back in the day. And but she's a doll. Like
back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, the other day I came in the door and I like opened up to just see like, should I wake her up? It's 11:30, and she's been playing in a room quietly for the last 2 hours. And I was like, oh my bacha, like such a cute kid I have. So I'm very blessed. For the sleeping, for me, it's like I'm weird, man. I can like order myself. Like I'm a very good Hitler with myself. Like if I decide something, then it has to happen. So like the moment I hit my bed, within 10 minutes, I fall asleep, and it annoys my wife a lot that I can do that. But I do really, I'm also a night owl. So I do stay up till like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock sometimes now in Corona times, So I am up quite late, but I do also feel that, the days I'm working out is helping my sleep a lot more. So I go quite hard as I can at in my home gym that I've kind of done. And I've got like this stupid app with like reminders with body weight exercises. And, it's like, planks, which I guess everybody can do, right? But it builds it up every time with like 5 seconds more. And then it also sets a reminder for every like 2 days that it's plank time or whatever. I know it's boring, but it helps me regulate my stuff. So I'm quite like, I regulate my food, I regulate my sleep, and also kind of work out. And honestly, the thing is for me, I have to, right? Because I like with the family kind of dynamic, I cannot be sad. I cannot be like, just like eating biscuits in bed and watching like, binging on TV, because it has an adverse effects to, the people around me. So I need to kind of like have that kind of military routine. So that's what's helping me. I don't know if that helps people or that makes people hate me. I'm fine with either or.
I'm taking notes.
Should I say what I've been watching, by the way?
Sure.
Quickly, I've I restarted watching The Wire. And the reason is because 2 reasons. A, I started watching Money Heist. You guys know that show, right? On Netflix.
Yeah.
And I've made that joke before, but I feel I've been bullied into watching that show because everybody's watching it. And after watching...
I gave up on that show.
Yeah, I gave up on it too. I gave like it 9-10 episodes, like half and half. So first 3 episodes, I was like full on sitting down, watching, reading, like subtitles and all that. 4-5 episodes onwards, I was like, I'll start on the cooking prep, that, and I'll like come in and watch like, that kind of thing. And it's like now like 9-10 is like, okay, you watch, I'll put Sophia to bed and I'll come and catch up later on. So now it's like I've like totally given up. It's not for me. And I just feel it's like a Spanish prison break or something like that. You know, it's just not for me. It's kind of like I don't feel it's like highbrow enough. And I feel like people sometimes give credence to a show just because it's in a foreign language. You know, they make it sound that it's more critically acclaimed than it is. And also I was like, I don't know who it was. I think it was Tanmay Bhatt was live streaming the first episode of Money Heist. And he was like, man, Spanish sounds so sexy to me. Everything they say in Spanish is so sexy. And it's so weird because in Europe, we hear Spanish all the time and Spanish does not sound sexy whatsoever. So it's just...
That kind of reminds me of Dexter's Lab, you know, omelette du fromage. Never mind.
Yeah. But yeah, I am also married to a French woman. So that's language sexiness is kind of like, yeah, I have a high level there anyway. So that made me switch over to The Wire because it's also like, I think HBO has some deal where they're streaming their content on Hulu for a while. I think for a month or two. And the problem with The Wire was always that I never had like a upgraded HD copy and I never had subtitles. So my wife could not watch it because that show actively makes it difficult for you to engage with it. Like it demands that you give it attention and then the payoff will come. If you want to watch it like you would watch Money Heist or like I was watching Money Heist, you will not get anything out of it. So we needed those subtitles and now we're like blasting through it. And like I was saying, Community is my second favorite show. The Wire is still my all-time greatest favorite show of all time. It's still not aged. I mean, some metaphors are a bit on the nose and a bit too blatant. But it's like, if you compare it with anything out there, since, I don't know what else, yeah, it's still number one. It's still like my ultimate favorite show. I've just finished season 1 and it's quite intense. So you need a break. It's not a show that you can jump in straight away in season 2. And it was also funny that, it was also a show, The Wire, for the people that haven't seen it or heard of it. It was also like Community. It had kind of, it didn't have a huge audience and kind of the critical conversation kept that show going for 5 seasons. And in a way, the arc that they build up in season 1 is the entire arc of the 5 seasons. So it's like completely contained and the tragedy of it is like in season 1 already, but the whole 4 or 5 seasons are amazing. So if you have Hulu, now you have time, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of The Wire and they've not watched it. Now is maybe the time to do that. I don't know. Have you guys watched The Wire?
Not me.
Yeah.
No.
Wait, you've never watched The Wire?
No. I've got the Bray. I still haven't gotten around to it. But I guess this is the time, as Asim says.
I mean, watching, like, so my impression of The Wire, and I could be totally wrong, is that it's quite, like kind of gritty and,
yeah.
Like, you know, I live in the United States. I don't really need more. Here's why things are horrible in the United States. Like, I got a pretty okay handle on that for real. And if I'm going to engage with it, I want it to be real.
I mean, this week we almost heard about injecting disinfectant, so that's a reality for us right now.
Yeah.
We were actually watching it and I was like, cause I watched it when it was coming and it was one of the first shows with like Sopranos and The Wire. It was kind of those first high level shows that they made HBO, I think. And I watched it quite when it was coming out and we were just realizing like, that's why I don't trust any institutions. It's because of The Wire. Like, cause every season they tackle one institution, be it the press, be it politics, policing, you know. And I don't trust any of those, and I think The Wire is a big reason why that is. Amrita, you've watched it, right?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it like too hype now, you think?
Yeah. I don't think it's too hype. I think I haven't rewatched it, so I don't know how well it holds up, but I would imagine it holds up really well because those are some like really amazing actors, and I think a lot of them I think we're acting for the first time, or like he got people from the streets, you know, who were actually in that life, and it's I don't think it's for everyone though. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like everyone should watch it, because there's a lot of tough conversations that show has, and it might not be for people who are looking for something to escape.
Yeah. It's not, yeah.
During this time.
But I think it can be for like the Sopranos, the Breaking Bad kind of audience.
Yeah,
if you like those kind of shows, then I think it is better than those shows. I feel it's better than Sopranos. Yes. I feel it's better than Breaking Bad. And if you are in the mood and you want to watch that, I think a lot of people still haven't seen The Wire. But if you are just want to watch something light and casual, this is not going to, like, if you want to watch Community, right? Like that's like complete polar opposites here. So shall we move on to our main review? After our listener mailbag episode, we were very gung-ho about Duplicate. It's a movie I had not seen. It's a movie, Sujoy, you had not seen. It's a movie that I feel Amrita did not warn us enough about. If she had seen this. I feel like...
Ask yourself, Tim, like, would any warning have sufficed? Like, what kind of warning would have actually made you think, aha, I know what I'm walking into? Like, nothing.
Well, it made me realize that 1998 Asim was making pretty good decisions at that time. Like he chose to not watch this movie. And I think 2020 Asim should have followed in that footstep. Like, oh God. Because even like the thumbnail that, like, because it's been on Netflix for a while, right? And the thumbnail is of like comedy Shahrukh with those flared nostrils and that weird face he does.
That's called face.
Yeah.
Oh, I have so many things to say.
Yeah. And it never made me want to watch this movie, like even while it was on Netflix. And it's like, so if we want to go kind of back, this movie for the people that like, weren't alive then, because that's also a thing. This was a kind of this was produced by Dharma, right? So Karan Johar's dad's final movie that he produced, and they got Mahesh Bhatt to do this.
No. It wasn't his final movie. Like he made Kuch Kuch. Was it? This came after Kuch Kuch, right? Or was it? It was in production before. Yeah, this was before Kuch. Yeah, so he was still alive during Kuch Kuch. He didn't die.
Yeah, but you kind of like, I think he kind of gave it over to Karan then, no? Like, I remember like he, like it was one of the last movies he did. And they got Mahesh Bhatt to like direct this movie, and it went horribly bad, right? Like it flopped so badly. And like,
No. This is the like 12th biggest grosser of the year.
Really? Like,
but also like,
I've heard Karan Johar make those statements.
I saw the making, and Yash Johar is really flaunting that this is one of the most expensive movies to be ever made in Bollywood, like at that time. So I guess he gave it all.
The financials were probably off. Like they probably put in more money than they could recover. Yeah. But it did okay, I think.
I mean, what Wiki says is that they spent 9.5 crore and got 21.5 crore. So,
because
I mean. I know these numbers are very hard to get with any accuracy, but that's it. I mean, that's a pretty big hit. I think.
Because here it even says the film was released on 8th May 98 and performed badly at the box office. And that's what my recollection of this was actually, that it was a huge flop. And I also remember Karan Johar saying that it really broke his dad's heart.
I remember, so I saw this movie in the theaters. It was like, it was me and my best friend, and we went and we watched it, and I have very strong memories of that. And it was a packed house. I do remember it being like a house full. So I don't know like what kind of creative accounting is at work here. Like, was it a flop? Was it not a flop? But they said it was a flop, so they could shore up some money. Like, I don't know what was happening.
Yeah. And even like box office wise, it's a weird one, because I have the list here, and the 11th highest grossing movie is Satya, which is 18 crores. So imagine the 12th movie is less than 80. If it makes less than 18 crores, that's not a lot of money. Like, right? Like, for a Shahrukh movie, right? Where Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Wait, how can this be? No, this is not right. No.
But this is like 98, right? So
when
take
you look
into
at
account
the other,
inflation.
The numbers are, like you said, creative, and they're always, are they counting overseas or no? Are they, what are they doing? But the big numbers for that year, apart from Kuch Kuch, which obviously blows everything else out of the water, they're not that much higher than this. They're proportionally higher than this, but in some ways they're not that much higher. But when you look at what those movies are, like, again, like what's happening this year when I was talking about Sajan with you. What was the movie we watched? The most crippled.
Sajan, no Sajan. Yeah.
Sajan, yeah. Like when we were looking at what else happened that year, we're going,
most crippled ever.
Yeah. This has that same, like I had to look up at least one of these movies because I'd never even heard of it, and that there's some great things from 98, but there's a lot of stuff that grossed a lot that you just think, God, no one's going to watch that now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Dil To Pagal Hai came a year before this, and it just feels like it went a generation back from Dil To Pagal Hai, this movie.
But I think a lot of the blame has to be put on Mahesh Bhatt, right? Like, Mahesh Bhatt's career, like, especially in commercial cinema, has been like, ye lo, maro, like that, like, just take it and like, leave me alone. Why are you making me do these stupid movies? Like, half of them were like, just ripped off plots for somewhere else. And it was a really weird, like, I remember, like, he still had a lot of, like, critical acclaim, and sometimes he would pop up and make, like, a half-decent movie or a good movie, and he had this aura around him that he always had. But when you went to watch his movies, they were like, none of them were good. Like, it was really,
there was this reputation about him being this carrier of wise words, and he would have these TV appearances, and he made some good movies in the 80s. But then you go to the 90s and he's rehashing remakes after remake for Vishesh films. And I guess the reputation is that he makes movies for less money, or he's very economical, and that's why he was producer's choice for projects. Like, you don't get to see any sort of a director's motif for craft in his movies. Are just churned out in some sort of machine. So you get like Tadipar with Mithun, or the Gentleman remake with Chiranjeevi. Those are, you don't really see any sort of Mahesh Bhatt signature in them. And same is with Duplicate. I can't remember anything from the movie, even though I watched it yesterday,
And I also remember a lot of rumors, and I think these rumors were also happening during Hum Hai Rahi Pyar Ke, that he just wasn't on set. That this movie just got produced by, like assistant directors and choreographers and action directors, and he was just never there. And I feel that's what Duplicate is about. It's like a movie with no director, and you just let Shahrukh just do whatever he wants to do. And for me, comedy Shahrukh and action Shahrukh are like the worst Shahrukhs. Like, I do not like those two Shahrukhs, and here both of them are together, and I don't really enjoy it.
And the worst version of both of those categories.
Yeah. It's this was a painful watch, and I think Apurva, like our listener that recommended it, he said this is my guilty pleasure. And I wonder.
So did Shai.
Yeah.
And I said yes. You should feel guilty.
Yeah, you should feel guilty because this movie brings me no pleasure. Like, God. Beth, what did you think?
For me, so for me, I have seen this movie before, and I was saying to the Khandaan family here when we were planning this that I have this on VCD because that's how old we all are. So when my story is so different than yours. Like, I started watching Hindi films in 2005. This is, Duplicate is less than 10 years old at this time, and it's a Shahrukh movie. And love him or hate him, he's a big part of a lot of non-South Asians' early exposure to Hindi films. And he's pretty inescapable. I liked him right away, so for me that was fine. I know for some people that's a different story, but so this movie featured fairly prominently in my kind of early exposure to Hindi cinema, and I was pretty charmed by it initially. In retrospect, I would question 2005 Beth's opinion of this, and I think it's quite true that this movie, like favorite Un Bari Mang, like nothing happens for the first hour and a bit, and everything I remember from this movie, with the exception of the songs, is in the second half or even the last third. But if I could lop off that first chunk, I would still say this is perfectly fine 90s nonsense.
Wow, I think
I'm not going to defend it and say it's great or anything. I don't hate comedy Shahrukh as much as you all do, although I'm not a big fan. But I think this is it for what it is. It's fine. Yeah. It's not great, but it's fine.
And also it's just the fact that like Mahesh Bhatt rips off so many things. Like the first introduction we get to Mannu, they rip off a line from Dirty Harry. There's like a shootout that's ripped from Desperado. Right. There's like so many things that they just lift from here and there. And I think the only thing that Mahesh Bhatt probably has that it felt like his sensibility is that Mannu remains a bad guy, and they're not related to each other. Like they're not twins that got separated at the, or clones or lookalikes. They just aren't, they just happen to be duplicates of each other. But, like this movie, the bar in the performances and the characters and the story is so low. Like it feels like none of the people have any idea which movie they're in. Like they didn't talk to each other. And then, honestly, Sonali Bendre comes out the most positive out of all of this. And she's like in it for like 7 minutes. And I'm not.
No.
That's how bad I feel this movie is.
Oh my God, no, she can't act for crap in this. She's terrible. When Amrita and I were watching yesterday, we typed to each other almost simultaneously. She can't even stare effectively.
Yeah, I think that's Mahesh Bhatt.
I forget what, it's one of the scenes in one of the villain lairs, and she's supposed to be staring at him, and like she can't even hold her face still. Like she's so bad.
Like Sonali Bendre, poor lady. Like we spoke a little bit about her during Sarfarosh, right? Like this, like she picked the worst movies to be with Shahrukh, right? Like the only good thing she has is the cameo in Kal Ho Na Ho with him, right? Otherwise, it's this and English Babu Desi Mein. Those are like such. I think Beth, you might like that movie, no? Like, aren't you one that likes English Babu Desi Mein, or am I mistaken?
No, I haven't seen it in so long. I don't really remember, but I do know people who like it. Yeah.
Anyway, so who amongst you thinks that somebody on the production team like hated Sonali
because of the clothes they're making her wear, or like
it is the clothes, her scenes, like I think this was supposed to be like Sonali's breakout role. Like I honestly feel like, the way like she like comes out of the screen in the first few scenes is like, oh yeah, like I am going to be like an actor right now. And then like as the film went on, I think somebody in the production was like, I don't know.
I think like I saw one of the making or on the set making videos on Lair for this yesterday after the movie, because what else do I have to do in a life like this, but Sonali is giving this interview and she's saying like, oh, I get to play this really sexy siren, which is very unlike other Bollywood actresses at the moment, because I get to play like a very openly sensual and sexual role. I'm like, okay, you think that's path-breaking for you? It's good, girl.
Like, so Joy, like, do you, like, I was like, Beth was like telling me, like, she's not surprised that Sonali got the short end of the stick because she plays the mall basically. But do you remember like when this movie came out, like this was pitched as a 2 heroine project, right? Like Sonali's not playing the vamp.
No, absolutely not. Because I remember the publicity's song, which was Mere Mehboob Mere Sanam, and that was like 2 Shahrukhs and both the heroines, because that's the publicity shot that's been used. And but you watch the movie and she just gets reduced to a very like even below the supporting actress role, and like she's only brought back in the climax to to tie things around, but. Yeah,
when she pops up at the end, I'd kind of forgotten she was even.
As telling Beth, like the climax, like nothing happens for 1 hour, and then like something happens for like half an hour, and then the climax takes over for like 1 hour, and then at the end of it, for like 15 seconds, Sonali shows up. I'm just like, what? You had like 1 hour for the climax, but you could only give Sonali 15 seconds? Wow.
But
the editor hates her as well.
Yeah, I think it was an editing thing. They probably shot more and they just left it on the editing floor. That's how it felt like to me. But even the way she was shot, like camera angle wise and things like that, I don't think it was. It was really weird. Like there's a song where she's wearing like orange shorts, and it was like shot really weirdly. Like it does. Like I mean, obviously she's a beautiful woman, but like it was like the least flattering angles and the least flattering costumes. Like she's wearing like this kind of like rope dreadlocks or something like that. It's like, who did this? Like, what is this about?
And like Shahrukh's Manu Dada is supposed to be a cheap sleazegate asshole, but like who gave him the instructions to be so teethy and just bite everything? And so like Sonali gets that, she's at the receiving end of all that manhandling, but like Juhi won't take any of that, she would just slap him all across.
I was telling, like in the first, like the moment like Manu shows up, like I was telling Beth, like Shahrukh is doing something weird with his mouth in his characterization of Manu, because it's like his lips are like extra fleshy and wet the entire time that he's Manu, and it's disgusting. Like,
is this the first time he plays a dual role?
Yeah.
So you've talked about it in other episodes. I've been on episodes where you've talked about it. Like young Shahrukh gives everything. Like there's, there's so much energy being put into this, and he's clearly going with the idea of I'm going to make these people as physically distinct as possible, so that when I have to play them as each other, I have something to combine between the two to make these. Because he's playing 4 characters. That's a lot to put on a young actor. And to his credit, I think he really does convincingly play 4 all annoying characters. But obviously, he should have pulled it in a bit, even in establishing the main 2 duplicates.
I think the two cues he was going for was a snake, act like a snake, and secondly, he was act like Jim Carrey from The Mask. I think those were the kind of cues he was going for, and I think like and it's always so odd when like this whole movie there's one shot where suddenly like cartoon style the eyes pop out. Like why was there like a choice to suddenly go Roger Rabbit? I think that's clearly from The Mask. And then also the way the long leather jacket he's wearing, it's like very like it reminded me of those are the kind of sensibilities they're going for.
Although, like, I did appreciate, like, some of the comedy in this film because, like, there's, like, Shahrukh sends up Shahrukh better than anybody else. Like, we've talked about this before. It's why, like, nobody can actually make fun of Shahrukh in real life either. But there's, like, all those points where Bablu is acting as Manu and he, like, hates it. And he's just, like, providing all this commentary on, like, how ridiculous the villain gear is. So he's, like, wearing this, like, leather trench coat and it's like, itni garmi mein kaun pehanta hai?
and he like hates it so much, and like that's the kind of stupid things that like make me laugh. So I was like, okay, fine, like that made me laugh.
Babu breaking the fourth wall as Manu is the best part of this film.
Yeah.
I think the only bits that made me giggle were Tiku Talsania and him complaining to his Jijaji, boliye, Jijaji. That's the only bit that made me crack up, because otherwise this movie is so dull. Like with Mela, at least we got some fodder for, laughter that it's so bad that it's good. But this is just bad.
It's crazy, no? I was thinking that same thing, like this makes Mela better. Like as an experience, like Mela is better than Duplicate, like honestly. And that Mela is so bad. Like I like this one is like I get no joy out of Tiku Talsani. I've never liked him. Like the moment he enters on screen, I hate his guts. The only time I've liked him is in Andaz Apna Apna, and that's it. And that's not because of him. It's because of everybody else around him. Yeah, and like there's also like a moment where like everything becomes super racist. Like in this movie,
it's so racist.
Yeah.
It's so racist, and it feels like that Shahrukh ad-lib from that time. And this is where Shahrukh, Salman and these guys are like in uncle territory, and this is like their humor, and it's really like it's hard to watch it. Like it's so cringy, right? And I'm pretty sure those were not Japanese people but Chinese people. I'm not like they were right. They were speaking Chinese, right? They were definitely speaking Mandarin, right? They were not like I'm like 95% sure. I'm not able to pick up the languages, and the audio was bad.
I mean, it's definitely not Japanese.
It's definitely not Japanese. And I knew it.
And they didn't even care to acknowledge that.
The moment where Shahrukh starts doing that Asian impression, I knew that they were just gonna get some random Asians on later in the thing. And I also knew when he has to create a banquet for Japanese people, and then he ends up making roast chicken, birthday cake, and watery dal. That's what he makes.
Oh man.
One of the standout points of this movie for me is Vajiva. I still think it's funny. I'm not even going to say kind of funny. I think that song is funny. Does anyone else enjoy that song at all?
Yeah, I really enjoy how Javed Akhtar uses the words, that he plays around with all food related terms in the music, and he's like ishq ka achar bhi na ban saka, husn jab na laya tha ye chutniyan, and all of that. He's making like metaphors about love and everything, but also playing with food terms. It's amazing. I really like that. The songs are,
the songs are good, right?
And also like the songs are completely directed by the assistant direction team, or even Karan Johar, who is taking teams abroad, and Mahesh Bhatt is not to be seen anywhere for sure. It just feels like a totally different movie.
Like I was asking Beth who directed this like these parts, because every time the songs happen, it's so clear that somebody else is at the helm, because the entire the feel of the visuals just completely change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're very different. Yeah.
I think that's where all the budget went.
Totally. Yeah.
Like when I'm watching Vajiva, the first thing that pops into my head is like how Sharmista Roy this movie is. Like the design of it, like the kitchen.
Well, it's more like Sharmista Roy, the intern years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
because she's already done Dil To Pagal Hai the year before.
Yeah,
and this just feels like earlier in her career what she would have done.
Yeah, and a lot of the sets are being reused. Like wholesale. It's exactly the same set. Like that bed where he abuses Karisma Kapoor on is the same bed that he abuses now Sonali Bendre on. It's his lair is his dance studio. And when I watch Vajiva, I was like, wow, this is what rich people think kitchens look like. Because the only thing that stands up, how many people are eating cornflakes? Every kitchen has Kellogg's cornflakes very blatantly there. Why is there so much cornflakes? I didn't understand that part. And also
there's a lot of there's a lot of South Bombay perspectives here. Like this is how Karan Johar and Yes Johar think Jalandhar mothers are supposed to behave. How this is how Indian Punjabi mothers from who come to Bombay are going to bully their sons into exercise all the time and fight goons.
Yeah, I do think this movie has a Karan Johar sensibility because I think the apron he's wearing in Wajiwa is like a sex apron. I think I've seen it like on sex, like it's like an edible one, Sorry, Amrita,
can we talk about the songs? Can we talk about the songs if we're talking about Wajiwa? Because I had forgotten literally every single song in this film except for
Mehboob Sanam. Mere Mehboob.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I had forgotten all the songs and Kathe Aankhon Wali Ladki, that's a really good song, right? I'm not imagining things.
Yeah. I love it.
I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. I saw Sujoy's tweet along that he's like, oh my god, I love this song. And I was like, I don't know what you love in it. I feel it's so cliche. And it's when we were making fun of those Arijit Singh songs that T-Series is doing, that they all sound the same. And I feel Kattai Aankhon Wali is that song of that era where, it's just I've seen it in better movies, done better, sung better. But I don't know, maybe I was just already switched off from that movie at that time. I just couldn't find anything fun. But
yeah,
in it.
I mean, it has better songs in this movie itself. Ek Shararat is such a earworm. I hum it all the time.
Yes,
and Mere Mehboob Mere Sanam is so much fun.
Yeah,
it taught me beatboxing before I knew it was beatboxing. Yeah, I love the soundtrack, and the production quality around the songs is just you just go back and watch the songs, and that's satisfying enough. And I don't need to revisit this movie. No. End of podcast.
The Shararat one has so much of a Yes Boss vibe to it, though. The visuals are very strong, but it just it reminded me so much of a Yes Boss song. I don't know which Yes Boss song, but that's where I was. But the visuals are very, very strong. I remember a lot of that imagery from that song, and I actually thought it was imagery from a Yes Boss song. And I think did we review Yes Boss? We've not done it yet, right? But
no,
because I do rewatch those songs quite regularly, I was like, hey, where's that piece where Shahrukh is wearing a white t-shirt and has his cap backwards? And it's actually from this. So, it's kind of, but Mere Mehboob is an awesome song. But, I don't know.
So Virat, who's one of our listeners, mentioned on Twitter, I was talking about the songs and and about how Kathe Aankhon Wali Ek Ladki is I really like it. And he was saying that that it came out the same year as this movie came out the same year as Dil Se, and that album just killed every single other album that year. Nobody else could compare to that album. Yeah. So that's probably why, nobody remembers any of the other songs that year.
Yeah. But Mere Mehboob, we almost was this Anu Malik that made this album, or was it Jatin? Yeah. Wow, he got
no. It is Anu Malik.
When you think about it, it has almost that Paile Chunmun type of very simplified, stripped down beat, but it's a great song. It still kind of holds up, I feel. I do find it funny though. And again, this is how the movie is made carelessly, but okay, I'm nitpicking here. But the premise of Mere Mehboob...
Are you really, Asim? There's so much to pick.
Mere Mehboob, the idea is that Bablu imagines Sonali to be Juhi Chawla, right? So he's in a dream state. Juhi Chawla is not there, right?
No, he's not imagining Sonali as Juhi. He imagines Juhi there as well as Sonali.
Yes. So, but Juhi is not there, right? But when they get married at the end, Juhi does a reprise of Mere Mehboob, and she does this choreography the same way, which is impossible because she was not in the song. I know I'm nitpicking.
Thank you for
linked together that she knows.
But then they get the vada pav from the previous scene. So they had foreshadowed the vada pav in Shah Rukh's dream sequence that he was talking about in his dreamy Suhagrat, and they bring that back.
Yeah, that is such a Karan Johar joke. That is such a Karan Johar joke, though. Like, he really had faith in it, and he was gonna carry that till the end of the movie. Like, yeah. You guys also ran a cool little poll. What were the results of that at the end? I'm quite curious. Want to read what the question was?
Yeah. So wait a minute.
I think Amrita just dropped pick one of these, and people did not.
Beth and I were talking about it. Like Juhi and Shahrukh in this film are so good together. Like, I honestly couldn't tell in some of the songs and like their scenes together whether they were acting or whether they were improvising, or like, you know, like Shahrukh was just pulling a fast one on Juhi in some of the scenes, and she was just very naturally reacting to the things that he was doing, and they were basically using outtakes because it looks so natural. Like, it doesn't look like they're acting at all. And I'm not talking like extremely lovey-dovey stuff. I mean, just the two of them hanging out together, like, you know.
There was
scene.
there was this one sequence where they're clear. I think they're in Mauritius or something like that, and she slaps Shahrukh, and Shahrukh slaps her back, and you can see on Juhi's face that Shahrukh was not supposed to slap her back, and it's so cute how they still managed to carry the scene, and it's they do have an amazing chemistry together. Yeah.
And it's like, there's so much comfort with each other as well. So, so Beth and I were talking about it, and Beth was asking me which one I preferred, like, Shahrukh Juhi or Shahrukh Kajol. And I was like, wow, like, that's a tough question for me as a 90s kid, just because, like, Shahrukh and Juhi service a very different emotional need for me than, like, Shahrukh and Kajol. And also, like, for somebody who grew up in the 90s watching Bollywood, especially when you're Indian, like Shahrukh and Kajol are, it's like asking, like, do you like your parents or the neighbors? Like, there's no, like, who are you going to choose? So I put it up on Twitter, and everybody had a meltdown. Like, people
were crying, like, why, Amrita, why?
Like, people were like,
I love that this is never... People were acting like this question has never been posed before. Like, this question has been posed before. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, people were like, you're evil. Like, this is not a choice. Like, how can you make me choose? Like, all this kind of stuff. And of course, like, a couple of other people were like, why is this Juhi and Kajol? Like, I think my favorite is like Shahrukh and Ash, and like, but no, the question was Shahrukh and Juhi or Shahrukh and Kajol. And 54% of people said that they prefer Shahrukh and Juhi, which is stunning. There were 267 votes, so it wasn't even like 5 people got together and were like, "Oh yeah, like
I have a theory about that, which is that since I know we all retweeted the poll. I believe that I am a safe space on the internet for people who don't really care about Kajol, and those people answered the question.
I feel like there's also like a couple of like people made a few good points which I think deserve to be read out.
Yes.
Like Shreya, who's at Iconoclast on Twitter, like she says like Juhi and Shahrukh for a full-blown comedy, whereas Kajol and Shahrukh for full-on drama, which I think is like more of a comment on Juhi and Kajol as actors.
And then our friend Rupa Banerjee said this is really choosing between which of the Shahrukhs we liked more. The Juhi one is the vulnerable, not always the winner, real guy who doesn't always get the girl or even his life right. The Kajol one is the romantic who is more the regular hero with the requisite elan. And I was like, yeah. Yep. That is it. And I personally don't find I'm on record as saying it, and I'll say it again, like, I don't think the romantic pairing of Shahrukh and Kajol is as magic. It's not as magic to me as it is to a lot of other people, and he has chemistry with everyone. So, and she is not a good actor. So I just don't get it. And I think that the comedy is so much harder, and they're so good at it together.
And like multiple people have talked about about the fact that they don't really like Kajol's acting, and also like Catherine,
including Mahesh Bhatt.
I think I didn't know that Mahesh Bhatt had said something about Kajol.
Yeah, it was on Coffee with Karan. Karan asked who is the most overrated actress, and Mahesh Bhatt said Kajol.
Wow,
that was a vicious episode with Imran Hashmi, right?
Yeah.
They were going for blood, those two. It was hilarious.
I didn't see it. I should watch it.
For them.
Catherine, who's K. Matthews and who has a podcast about Malayalam film mostly, and also a blog, and you can check it out. She says that basically she thinks Shahrukh and Kajol is a kind of a unique pairing in that Shahrukh is often good no matter who he's paired with, which I feel is like a really backhanded compliment to Kajol. As is Juhi, not so much the case for me with Kajol. So she's basically saying that Shahrukh and Juhi basically just have chemistry with everybody, and they work really well with everybody. Which is also...
Like Kajol had a cameo in this, and she's playing Anjali or Simran, both of them together, because she's saying chi as well as she goes finding Raj from DDLJ.
I feel I do not agree with the poll results. I do not go with any Kajol bashing, and I feel this is why Donald Trump got elected and why democracy is broken, and you have Brexited my podcast, and it's obviously Kajol. There's no even their magic together is like tangible. I've seen it live. It's like a fart in a car, but like the best smelling fart ever. It's you can feel it and Shah Rukh is great with everybody. He's great with Juhi. And I think and the other thing that annoys me about Shah Rukh and Juhi is that he made Juhi his bhabhi in Paheli. I feel that's like something broke in me when he did that. And I do not like it, and I'm kind of pissed off about that.
So there's like one more tweet that I want to mention, which is by Akshat Sharma. I'm not going to touch whatever Asim just said right now. I'm just going to
he could take into a fart, so I think we're good.
No matter how good it was, it's the fart.
Yep.
But Akshat Sharma on Twitter, he says that he kind of wishes that they would do like a His Girl Friday type film where they would just spar. And I thought that was like a really I don't want to see a remake of His Girl Friday with them, because I think they're both a little too old for that. But I would love to see one of those Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn movie type things for the two of them. I think they'd be amazing in that.
Who would you have it direct, though? That's kind of always my problem with these kind of ideas. Like, who has the skill set, to make it that snappy and funny and still
Can I tell you?
Huh?
Make Amir direct it.
That's not bad. I think, but yeah, I think it's something that you raised last week, right? And I've been thinking about it, and I think you're right. I think he needs. This is the kind of thing he could do, and it wouldn't be like a large scale budget kind of thing, right? I think that's actually a good.
And Amir is a total control freak. So he and you can't. The one thing that I can never say about Amir is that the man doesn't have vision. He has a very definite vision, and you can see that in the movies that he's made. The only thing is he makes very Jesus-y kind of movies. So if he makes a comedy, then I feel like he would really put in the effort, and he would know what to do with the material in his hands, is what I'm saying.
Gulshan Grover.
Yes!
That's what I want to talk about.
He's excellent.
How this movie is of an era. It's called.
Yeah. What do you want to say about Shalako? That was the thought process. He's Shalako. That's how they got to that.
He's got a jacuzzi in the middle of his room,
There's a point
there's that point where like he's finally at Shalako's house, and then he like realizes that Bablu played them for a fool, and then suddenly it cuts to like Manu coming out of the bathtub, and I literally was typing to Beth, why is he taking a bath right now? And then you see that, he's drowned Shalako, and I was like, oh, I see, never mind. You know what this reminded me of? Like, this entire Manu performance is basically like Shahrukh with nobody with a hand on his reins. This is what happens when like you give Shahrukh his head. He just does all kinds of bizarre, stupid things. And I am always reminded of like the time when he tried to give Yash Chopra notes about how he wanted to play the character in Dar, and Yash Chopra basically relentlessly mocked him until he stopped. So that is what Shahrukh needs.
Yeah, there's like some really weird, like Manu has always got like water sprinkled on his face for some reason. He's sweating profusely.
Yeah, it's very funny.
So that was another thing. I was like, why does Manu have so many like bodily fluids emanating all the time? Have you noticed? Like he's crying, he's sweating, he's spitting, he's just wet all the time. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Ew.
And then, like on the contrasting end of the spectrum, there's Bablu, which with that really stupid duck face. Like, oh my god, those were like some real. Yeah, I mean, like, did they have like a drawing board when they made like these are the distinguishing characters between the two? This will be Manu will be wet and he will be a duck, so that he can float on it.
Shahrukh makes that face in other films, but not nearly for as long. And I'm trying to remember where I've seen it before, but it's very punchable.
Oh, Amrita,
what?
Shahrukh can drag.
I had completely forgotten about that. It was such a shock when it happened. I was just like, wait, what?
And they go quite far with it, right? Like they go like Demi Moore level, like he's kissing her knee and stuff like that. It was very, very weird.
Forget
he's
Demi
pretty
Moore.
good at it,
was
I
like
thought.
Jamie Lee Curtis from True Lies.
Like,
True Lies.
I was wondering if they would like full on go Sacred Game season 1 or something, like how, because I'd never seen this movie, right? So I was
oh my god.
So the thing that I was telling, like, look, Bollywood fans are cruel, cruel people. So I was telling Beth, like, that scene is going to haunt Suhana when she comes to work in Bollywood. Like, somebody is 100% going to be like, oh, like Suhana Khan is basically Shahrukh in drag.
That breaks my heart already.
So I've got a question for you guys. Like, you guys are very, very wise and knowledgeable. So we've got Salman, who's wore a bra in Baghi and has also been in a girls' night in Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. We've got Amir Khan, who's done drag in Bazi, and then we've got Shahrukh in this. Like, arrange them in descending or ascending order. Which one do you prefer the most?
Oh, Salman is last for me.
Okay.
Like, is this the level of drag, or are we talking about like just generally Amrita? Because you just like the statement seems so blankety. Like, so no, we need to establish, right? So we have Salman in drag in Janeman, right, on the in Times Square, but then we have also Salman in bikini in Baghi, right? The first one, the real Baghi. Then Amir has been in drag a few times, right? He's been in, which one was he?
Bazi.
Bazi.
That was it.
That's it. Okay. And then Shahrukh on this one, right? That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Salman's had done it twice. So you're saying Janeman last? How?
Yes.
Okay. Bazi is higher because he did a whole full sing song, no? Didn't he sing a whole song?
Actually, I don't know. Like maybe like okay, so you guys are heterosexual males, so you tell me like, you guys do the ranking first. Like which of those three would you like to bang?
Yeah. I mean, the ranking is not much different from without them in drag for me, right? Like Salman is on top. Because of that white dress and blonde hair works for me. Amir is bottom. And Shahrukh is kind of in the middle. Although I think Shahrukh and Amir are kind of equal. I do feel there's a lot more like danger to Shahrukh's sexuality in this than there is to Amir's. Amir seems like a kind of a cool kind of vaudeville act. Whereas I'm genuinely scared of Shahrukh in drag, which can work. It depends which kink you're in, right? You know, so.
Yeah. Oh, Shahrukh's like he will bite you.
Yeah. See, I know you already regretted asking us these questions, Amrit.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't regret this at all. These are the kind of questions that I most want to ask all the time.
Yeah.
Why is Shahrukh so bitey in this? I think that's Joy was asking this question also. Like he keeps biting people like all the time.
Yeah.
Like in like when Shahrukh is like Bablu is playing Manu, like I did enjoy the fact that he's basically like sending up his own characterization of what Manu is like and like all the things that Manu says and like the way he acts around people and the things he says, how he tries to be menacing but really just comes across as stupid. Like there's that scene where he jumps out of the car and like he wants to make it sound like, you know, like there's like all kinds of like horrible things happening, so he just starts reciting like horror movie titles. He's like 20 साल बाद दो गज बनी के नीचे, like that's the kind, again, like, you know, this is the kind of like totally stupid humor that like makes me laugh. So
the only humor that made me laugh is when Juhi Chawla called Mohnish Behl bhaiya at the end, and he's like driving off and he's crying. That made me laugh. Yeah, that really, that made me laugh. Mohnish Behl made me laugh.
Lamba got bhai zone.
Yeah, I think
we have exhausted duplicate. A duplicate exhausted us.
Yes, I think duplicate has exhausted us. Also, this movie is like 3 hours long. Yeah. Like it just goes on and on and on.
But every joke also drags for so long. Like the whole meet cute where he meets Juhi at the first time in the taxi. You know she's the person he's going to be interviewing with later on, but just keeps going on, and he's like, take these 54 rupees and like the manager is gonna come. It's like, dude, just we get it, we get where the joke is gonna lead, like, you know. And that whole sequence is like 25 minutes or something like that. It's insane to me. And
yeah, it just feels like very inefficient directing, which also makes me think if Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman holds up, I want to go back and see if Aziz Mirza did a better job in directing Shahrukh and Juhi back in the day. Because I have fond memories of Raju. I don't have any memories of Duplicate. So yeah, it makes me wonder if Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman would be a better movie.
Yeah.
I hope so.
How could he possibly do a worse job than this?
Yeah.
I don't think that.
But again, we will see if it's all our, nostalgia tinted glasses that is,
I'm so glad you just said that, because one of the things that's interesting to me about listening to this conversation from the, point of view from people who you usually have nostalgia about the films that you review here or that you discuss here. And in this one, 2 of the 3 of you don't. And it makes such a big difference, I think. Or at least it can, because I actually have more nostalgia about this movie than Sujoy or Asim, which is that's not going to happen very often. And it's because to me, the criticisms you're leveling, totally true. I have no disagreement with you, but they don't bother me. And they also, to me, they could be levied at almost everything else from this era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The jokes are slow. There's too much egregious comedy. Like, yeah, that's what 90s Bollywood was doing for the most part, you know? But it bothers you here because you don't have an affection already for this movie. Maybe.
True.
I mean, I think that is at play here. And it's interesting to watch this happening as someone who actually does fondly remember this movie, even though I don't, there's nothing all that unique about it, except, the one thing that Amrita and I talked about yesterday that we haven't here is, this can kind of go on that micro list of movies that are basically a Shahrukh soliloquy, of which Fan is obviously the peak. But could anyone else have done this movie, assuming that anyone would want anyone else to do this movie? Again, he's so energetic. He throws so much at all four of these roles, more than we needed him to, clearly. But the output of effort from him, and this is pretty impressive, if not always, well
I think
focused.
In the making video, Shahrukh talks about, all the legendary actors that have done double roles before him. And it takes a lot of craft and belief in, creating two characters with the same face, but did totally different characteristic in the same movie, in the same universe. Like he was quoting names like Dilip Kumar and Amitabh Bachchan in their time. And he definitely wanted to create a clear demarcation between the two, and I don't think that really landed well. And compared to what Salman did in Jurwa, which was because that's a more a comedy film altogether, I think, and that is totally in the wheelhouse of what Salman does on screen. And I think the only Amir double role is in Dhoom 3, which is a total farce anyway. But again, out of those three, I think I would rank Salman did a much better job than the other two Khans.
I think it's.
Do you think that's true even of Dawn?
Pardon?
Is that true for you, even putting in the Dawn movies and Fan, or just comparing this one?
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about Dawn, though. I totally forgot that Shahrukh had a double role in Dawn. I was just talking about Duplicate and Jurwa and Dhoom 3.
Yeah. So so we don't have a 90s Amir to put in there, but and I haven't seen Jurwa, so I can't say.
Although the way they flipped Dawn in Shahrukh's Dawn is the good guy you only basically see for 3 minutes, right? The rest is all Dawn, technically. So technically he's just playing one character, right? So it's oh god, I hated that twist, honestly. It's kind of like that tradition of, Sita Gita, Kishan Kanhaiya. And I think what Shahrukh was interested probably is what you're mentioning is breaking that more like they are not twins, they are not related. But also there's always a point where, Bablu's been badly treated. The Meek character has been badly treated. The Alpha character takes his place and then he takes revenge for the beta character. That always happens, and here they actively don't let that happen, where he should be, beating up the people that have been mean to Bablu. He instead starts being very, very rapey with Juhi Chawla and with the receptionist, and Mannu stays a bad guy. And I think those are probably the things that appealed Shahrukh into this movie. But the execution was just not there. I think the failure is really on a director level, and then probably Karan Johar punched up the comedy, and then it's also very late Shahrukh. I was a Shahrukh fan at this time, and I actively decided not to watch this movie. So there were a lot of elements that I knew that this was not going to work for me. And honestly, having watched it now, for me, this is one of the worst Shahrukh movies. It's down there with Gudgudi. That's how and there's not many movies of Shahrukh I've not watched. There are a few, and I'm really sad. I was kind of hoping that I would discover something that, I'd just not gotten a chance to look or watch before and would enjoy. But maybe, I wanted that Judwa. I wanted that Kishan Kanhaiya, that kind of setup, and it actively fights against that. And maybe that's what Shahrukh was interested in. It's definitely not what I was interested in. Anything else, or shall we wrap it up?
I think we can wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah. Beth, where can people find you online?
I am at Beth Loves Bolly on Twitter.
Amrita?
I'm on Twitter at AmritaIQ, and I also have a YouTube channel which should be up and running by the time this episode comes out, and it's called Amrita by the Book.
Yeah, I'm gonna be following and liking just to see your face. I don't care what you're talking about. So Joy?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at 93K.
Yeah. And I'm at Asim Bernie. I was also on the Wrist Test podcast, which was actually quite more popular than I was making fun of last week. So it's actually turned out quite well. So you should check that out. I talk about like a lot of serious topics, and they edited really well. I sound quite smart. So, and they also have like a very kind of like academic following, which I found. So it was really weird to see my tweet be liked by so many like journalists and film professors and this and that. I was like quite scary. That was quite scary. So in any case, check that out. I'll add the link to it. You can find us at youpodcasting.com. If you like us, I would say go to Apple. And a lot of people have found us on Savan, by the way. We were noticing.
Big shout out to all the Savan listeners of Khandaan podcast.
Yeah, so I don't know, heart us? What does Savan do? Like heart us, like us, do something there too?
Would you like to just like rephrase that, because it makes it really obvious that you have no idea what Savan is?
I have no idea.
I'll tell you.
I don't know. I don't know.
Sorry.
We don't need to make it that blatant. Like, we want to keep the listeners, not drive them away.
Yeah, so like us or heart us there. And I would like to finish with this thing that we hadn't talked about actually, but we wanted to. And I would like to say, podcast suno na, like karo na, subscribe karo na. It's so bad.
Oh. Yeah,
okay.
It's terrible.
Khandaan Podcast on the acting group. Girl, you're